You know, some folks splurge on fancy watches or beach houses to flaunt their success. But me? I went all in on a cherry red Lamborghini Aventador, sleek and custom built, the kind that roars like a beast but feels like pure freedom when you're behind the wheel. After years of hustling in tech startups, scraping by on ramen and late nights, that car was my one big I made it moment, my escape from the grind. I figured parking it in this upscale suburb out in sunny Arizona, with its wide streets and manicured lawns, would be the perfect spot to unwind, surrounded by folks too busy with their golf games to bother me. Or at least that's what I told myself, until envy turned one neighbor into a full-blown nightmare. It all kicked off innocently enough, or so it seemed. I'd just settled into the house, still unpacking boxes, when I found this crumpled note taped to my windshield one morning, scrawled in shaky handwriting like the guy was fuming while he wrote it. Your flashy ride is a menace to our quiet streets, too aggressive, scaring the kids, and it spits in the face of our community's vibe. Get rid of it in a week or face the consequences. I chuckled at first, thinking it was some prank from a bored retiree, snapped a pic for my weird Neighbor Vibes album on my phone, and tossed it aside. After all, the Homeowners Association rules didn't say a peep about sports cars, and I wasn't blasting through stop signs or anything. If anyone was a hazard, it was this guy Victor, the self-appointed watchdog of the block, always revving his rusty old Ford pickup while lecturing joggers about proper etiquette. But deep down, I sensed something uglier brewing. Victor wasn't just nosy. He was the type who'd peaked in high school as the hall monitor, and now, in his 50s, with a dead-end job at the local hardware store and a marriage on the rocks, he channeled all that bitterness into policing the neighborhood like it was his kingdom, especially resenting anyone who dared show up with something shinier than his faded glory. Fast forward a bit, and that resentment boiled over. I stepped out one crisp morning, coffee steaming in my hand, ready to hit the road for a drive that always cleared my head, and there it was, my Lambo looking like it had been through a war zone. Windshield shattered into a spider web of cracks, tires deflated and sliced open, bodywork gouged deep with what looked like a crowbar's rage. My gut twisted, not just anger, but this hollow ache, because that car wasn't just wheels. It was my reward for the sleepless nights, the failed ventures, the times I doubted I'd ever climb out of debt. And now some coward had turned it into scrap. My next-door neighbor Sarah, this sweet mom with 2 kids, sidled over with wide eyes, whispering, "I saw Victor lurking around last night with his buddy from the landscaping crew. They were poking at your car, muttering about teaching lessons." I didn't think much of it till now. Her words hit like a punch, but instead of losing it, I felt this calm settle in, a quiet resolve. I'd installed those discreet ring cameras around the porch not for paranoia, but because life's taught me preparation beats regret every time. Pulling up the app, there he was. Victor in his ridiculous reflective vest and a laminated neighborhood patrol badge he'd probably mocked up on his home printer, swinging a hammer like a madman, yelling to his pal, "This thing's a danger. Too fast for our kids, disrupts the peace. We're doing the community a favor here." Watching that footage, his face twisted in self-righteous fury, I realized his beef wasn't really about safety. It was pure jealousy, the kind that festers when you see someone living the life you wished for, amplified by his delusions of power in a HOA that barely functioned, where he'd wormed his way into volunteer enforcer status to boss people around and feel important. That's when the tide turned. I didn't confront him right away. No. I dialed my buddy Mike, who's a sharp attorney downtown, and forwarded the video, hearing him stifle a laugh before getting serious. "This clown fancies himself a cop? Alex, this is felony territory. Vandalism on a 6-figure ride. Send it to the cops. Stat." But Victor, oh man, he couldn't leave well enough alone. The very next day, there's this pounding on my door, the kind that echoes authority he didn't have. I opened it to find him puffed up in that vest, clipboard in hand, shades perched like he was starring in his own bad cop show. "You've defied community standards," he barked, jabbing a finger at my chest. "That eyesore endangers everyone. Consider yourself fined $500 payable to the HOA fund." I nearly spit out my coffee, leaning against the frame with a smirk. "Fined by who, Victor? Last I checked, you're not on the board, and the handbook doesn't ban Lambos. Hell, you're the one peeling out in your truck every weekend." His eyes narrowed, veins popping. "I am the law around here. If you don't like it, pack up and go. Outsiders like you ruin everything." That's when I dropped the bomb, casual as can be. Funny you say that, because I've got crystal clear video of you trashing my car last night. So unless you're fining yourself for destruction of property, I'd step back before this gets messier. He blanched, just for a second, then huffed off, mumbling about escalating to the higher-ups. But I could see the crack in his armor, that flicker of fear beneath the bluster. Things snowballed from there. Within hours, I got dragged into this emergency HOA meeting at the community center, a stuffy room with folding chairs and bad coffee, where the president, this polished lady named Elena, tried to play mediator. Look, Victor meant well. He's passionate about keeping things safe. Maybe the damage went too far, but let's talk compromise. I cut in sharp, my voice steady but edged. Compromise? He totaled my $300,000 car over some made-up grudge, and you're defending him? Tell me, does the board even authorize his little patrol act? A mousy board member piped up, clearing his throat. Well, technically, Victor's just a volunteer. We never gave him enforcement powers. He sort of appointed himself. That revelation hung in the air like a bad smell, exposing how the HOA had let this power-hungry guy run rampant, ignoring complaints because it kept their hands clean, motive clear as day, laziness mixed with Victor's manipulation, feeding off petty rivalries to maintain control. I walked out deciding two things. No mercy. I'd let the police handle Victor's crimes, and Mike would sue the HOA for negligence in enabling him. The cops didn't waste time. After reviewing the tape, they rolled up that afternoon, sirens off but presence loud, cuffing Victor right on his own lawn while he sputtered, "This is a setup! I'm protecting the neighborhood! You can't do this!" The kids on bikes paused to gawk, one even snickering, "Hey, Mr. Fake Cop's getting real ones now." It was almost poetic, watching his empire crumble in real time. Court was a spectacle. The judge, this no-nonsense vet with a gravelly voice, watched the footage and sighed, leaning forward. "Mr. Victor, you impersonated authority, destroyed property worth a fortune, all because you couldn't stand someone else's success? Prison time's on the table, plus restitution." His lawyer flailed, claiming overzealous community spirit, but the HOA bailed, no one showing to vouch. Turns out word spread, and a homeowner petition erupted, torching the board for turning a blind eye, dissolving it in weeks amid shouts of, "Enough with the tyrants!" Victor, convicted on all counts, vandalism, fraud for the fake badge, the works, bankrupted him clean. Ordered to cover the Lambo's full value, my legal fees, even emotional damages, forcing him to sell his house, lose his job, who hires a felon for hardware, and slink off to a dingy apartment on the outskirts, hood up whenever he passed by, avoiding the stares and whispers like, "Watch out, Victor might ticket your tricycle." Standing on my porch now, new Lambo gleaming under the Arizona sun, courtesy of that restitution check, I sip my coffee, reflecting on how one man's envy, twisted by a need for control in a community that enabled it, nearly stole my hard-earned peace. But in fighting back, I didn't just reclaim my car. I exposed the rot, reminded everyone that real power comes from standing firm, not hiding behind a vest. Yet sometimes I wonder, was it true justice? Or did the system just chew him up because he picked the wrong target? If someone wrecked your dream ride out of spite, would you go full legal? Or handle it quieter, maybe with a taste of their own medicine? Drop your thoughts below. What's fair in neighborhood wars, and have you faced a Victor in your life? Hit like if this hit home, subscribe for more real talk stories, and share your take. Let's keep the conversation going.